We are getting some breaking news in the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
Breaking right now. Federal agents have returned to a quiet residential neighborhood in Tucson, Arizona, 2 months after a woman named Nancy Guthrie vanished without a single trace. 2 months of silence, 2 months of dead ends, 2 months of a family waiting by the phone, praying for answers that never came. And now, the FBI is back. And this time, they're not looking at Nancy's house. They're looking at the house next door. A vacant property, a rental unit, a structure that, according to one former SWAT commander with decades of tactical field experience, could completely reshape everything we thought we knew about this case. Because here's the question investigators are now asking: what if the person who took Nancy Guthrie wasn't a stranger passing through? What if they were already there, watching, waiting, and operating from just steps away, long before she ever disappeared? Stay with me, because what I'm about to lay out is not speculation. This is operational analysis, based on real investigative patterns, real tactical logic, and real details emerging from the ground in Tucson. This could be the break this case has been waiting for. Before we go any further, I want to take a moment. Nancy Guthrie is a real person. She is someone's mother, someone's daughter, someone's friend. And somewhere out there, her family is still living in the worst kind of uncertainty, the kind where you don't know whether to grieve or hold on to hope. If you're watching this, I want you to keep Nancy in your thoughts. Keep her family in your thoughts. Because behind every case file, every surveillance screenshot, every FBI press release, there is a human being who deserves to come home. Stand with them. Share this video. Now, let's get into it. To understand why this vacant property matters so much, you first have to understand where Nancy Guthrie lived. Catalina Foothills, a residential community tucked into the northern edge of Tucson, Arizona. Elevated terrain, desert landscape, the kind of neighborhood where the mountains feel close enough to touch and the streets wind in ways that make GPS second guess itself. It is not a transient area. There are no sidewalks lining every block. There are no corner stores, no coffee shops, no foot traffic from strangers wandering through. The people you see in Catalina Foothills belong there, or they have a reason to be there. That is what makes this neighborhood, by its very nature, a place where someone out of place should stand out. Should. That word matters. Because in any investigation like this, the first question law enforcement asks is, how did the suspect move through this environment without triggering alarm? How did someone surveil a target, learn her schedule, map her exits, study her patterns, without a single neighbor noticing a face that didn't belong? The answer, investigators now believe, may have been hiding in plain sight. A rental property. In tactical and law enforcement language, a staging location, sometimes called a home base, refers to a fixed point near a target where an operative or suspect can prepare, observe, store equipment, and wait without attracting suspicion. It is a concept law enforcement knows well. It is used in military operations. It is documented in abduction cases. And it is, according to a former SWAT commander who has analyzed this case, exactly what that vacant rental property may have functioned as. Here's why a rental unit is uniquely suited for this purpose. In an established residential neighborhood, long-term homeowners know their neighbors. They notice new faces. They notice a car that wasn't there last week. But a rental property operates on a different rhythm. Tenants cycle in and out. Faces change. A new occupant in a rental doesn't raise eyebrows, it's expected. The rotation of faces is built into the property's identity. For someone planning a sophisticated abduction, this is not a coincidence. It is cover. And cover means time. Time to observe. Time to prepare. Time to store equipment, zip ties, restraints, a vehicle, communication blocking devices, surveillance gear. Time to stay within walking distance of the target while appearing to every neighbor who glanced over, like just another short-term tenant. The former SWAT commander is direct about this. Staging locations are not improvised. They are chosen deliberately. The proximity to Nancy Guthrie's home is not, in his assessment, a coincidence. It is an operational choice. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough in this case, the level of preparation required for what happened to Nancy Guthrie. This was not a random act. Investigators have said as much. The precision of the timeline, the way the abductor moved, the knowledge of Nancy's exact routine, this required study. This required surveillance. And here is a theory that law enforcement is now taking seriously: remote electronic surveillance, potentially staged from inside that vacant property. Think about what that means. A small, commercially available camera, disguised as a smoke detector, a power strip, a standard household object, placed inside a vacant home with a line of sight toward Nancy's property. A live feed, transmittable to any device, from anywhere. This technology is not science fiction. It is available on consumer electronics platforms right now for under $100. Through sustained monitoring, the person responsible for Nancy's disappearance may have learned exactly when she came home, when she left, which entrance she used, whether she set her alarm, whether her security cameras had gaps in their coverage, whether she had a routine, and she did. Nancy Guthrie consistently used her garage entrance. She came home at predictable hours. Her lights followed a pattern. And on the night she disappeared, her doorbell camera, a critical piece of evidence, went offline. That camera going dark is not a technical glitch. That is not a coincidence. That is someone who knew where it was, what it captured, and exactly how to neutralize it. You don't know that without watching. You don't watch without a place to watch from. Let's walk through the final night. Nancy Guthrie arrived home. She entered through the garage, her consistent routine. What happened next is still, officially, unknown. But what investigators have confirmed is this: her doorbell camera went offline at a specific, critical moment. The window of the abduction is narrow, and by the time anyone realized something was wrong, Nancy was gone. Now here's where this investigation gets complicated. The vacant rental property next door, when exactly did it become vacant? This question sounds simple. It is not. Because depending on who you talk to, the timeline shifts. Some accounts suggest the property was vacant before Nancy disappeared, meaning it could have served as a staging ground during the surveillance phase. Other accounts suggest the vacancy occurred around the time of the disappearance, a detail that, if true, raises even more disturbing questions about timing and coordination. And still others place the vacancy after the abduction, which, on the surface, seems less significant, but still leaves open the question of who had access to that property in the weeks and months prior. The FBI is mapping all of it. Every contractor who worked on that property, every construction worker in the surrounding area, every delivery driver, every utility worker, every face that appeared on any camera near that block in the weeks before January 11th. They are building a grid, a human map of everyone who moved through that environment. Because in a neighborhood like Catalina Foothills, where every face is known, the person who doesn't fit the grid is the person who matters. And now, the detail that nobody is talking about loudly enough. The pattern. January 11th, a Saturday. January 24th, a Friday, the start of a weekend. February 1st, a Saturday. These are the key dates in the emerging timeline of this investigation. 3 significant moments, 3 data points, and every single one of them falls at the edge of a weekend. This is not random. In criminal behavioral analysis, a recurring time pattern in a single case is called a temporal signature. It tells you something about the suspect's life structure. It tells you when they feel free to operate, when they are not constrained by a work schedule, by oversight, by people who expect them somewhere. Weekends mean mobility. Weekends mean less accountability. Weekends mean long stretches of uninterrupted time. The person who abducted Nancy Guthrie, if this pattern holds, operates on a weekend cycle. That narrows the behavioral profile. That narrows the suspect pool. And that is exactly the kind of detail that, when cross-referenced with the list of individuals who accessed that rental property, could produce a match. This is how cases like this get solved. Not through one dramatic revelation, but through the slow, disciplined intersection of behavioral data and physical evidence. Here's what we know. Nancy Guthrie was not taken by chance. She was taken by someone who knew her neighborhood, knew her routine, and chose her with deliberate intent. The level of preparation required for this abduction, the surveillance, the timing, the camera neutralization, the clean exit, points to someone who either lived nearby, worked nearby, or staged nearby. The vacant rental property is not a background detail. It is, potentially, the operational center of the most carefully planned abduction Tucson has seen in years. The FBI's return to that neighborhood is not routine. Agents do not return to scenes 2 months later for routine checks. They return because they found something, because a thread they had been pulling finally gave way. And now it is on all of us to help them follow it. If you lived in the Catalina Foothills area in the weeks surrounding January 11th, if you saw a face you didn't recognize, a vehicle parked too long, a light on in a house that should have been empty, contact the FBI's Tucson field office. That number is at the bottom of this video and in the description. If you have any information at all, even something that seemed small, seemed irrelevant, seemed like nothing, make the call. Because in an investigation this precise, nothing is nothing. Nancy Guthrie deserves to come home. Her family deserves answers. And whoever did this, whatever dark confidence they are operating from right now, needs to understand that the people hunting them are not stopping. They came back to the neighborhood, and they are not leaving without answers this time. Before I go, If you stand with the Guthrie family, if you want justice for Nancy, drop the word amen in the comments right now. Let's show this family that thousands of people around the world are in their corner. Subscribe to the Case Code for every update on this case as it develops. We are not letting this go. We are watching, we are digging, and we will be here until justice is served. This is the Case Code, and we don't stop until there are answers. If you have information about Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, contact the FBI Tucson field office at 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit a tip at tips.fbi.gov.